Here, I'm I'm just really wanting somebody to hit the link and challenge me on what I'm saying. Look at my title. It says the traditional way of buying property. I already did this. Cut out the middleman. I already did this. I was indicted for this. This was my whole indictment back in 2005, 2006. And over here, I'm been trying to tell y'all a little couple, two or three things about real estate here and there. And and I played a couple things. I played a couple things, a couple of sayings that was from Instagram or anything like that. And those things were meant to uh, they were motivational things because most people are not going to tell you the truth about bank lending and all of that because these people are paid for. Everybody thinks about getting a fucking mortgage for 30 fucking years, 15 years, all of these years, pay this amount of money, but you don't know the ascent of money. I read the ascent of money, number one. I read Mortgage Wars. I read Why Should White Guys Have All of the Fun. I read all of these books, but these books that I'm telling you that I read Eustace Mullins, and he tells you about the Federal Reserve, what it really is, the IRS, it really is. And I forgot, it's a couple other books, but these are documents that I filed with the federal court in my case to say, listen, TARP, all of these things that people, all of this shit that would, supposed to help banks with their, with their losses or perceived losses. And then you come around and the, you know, 2020 and everything, and then you come with the cure for those, and then you stop. And what it really actually is, it's the same fucking thing, the same fucking play. They rerun it, but if you haven't looked at every like site, what's public information is the information like, yeah, what bank got this amount of money for these so-called mortgages that failed, but mortgages in themselves, the mortgages themselves, you run the show. You run the show with those mortgages. If you buy a car, you run the show. But we so inclined and been taught from whoever you're listening to that, okay, well, if you got a mortgage, you got to pay it back. This got to happen. This, that, and third. I'm gonna tell you a story. I had a S500 black Mercedes Benz. I knew the law back then. This was like in 2000, some shit like that. I had just come in that night, took a shower, and I left my car out. I knew that I owed some bread on the car, like maybe 2 payments. So they was looking for it. But I parked it in my fucking driveway. Go upstairs, I take a shower, and then I hear beep, 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 like somebody was coming up in my driveway. Now, the first thing that's fucked up is your property is your fucking property. When they come repo your car, if that shit ain't signed by a judge, that repo person don't have no right to take your car. They don't have nothing. You tell them, get the fuck off your property. And then they'll always call the cops. But at the end of the day, if you stand on business and say, let me see that paperwork, is it signed by a judge? The only person that can take your fucking car from you, can take any property from you, it has to be signed by a judge to take your property. So people that had tow trucks, or that tow truck driver, I don't know how long that motherfucker might have been following me, but he called the police. I told him to call him. I already knew the law. So when he called, the police, and they came there, they told me they was asking me, well, you didn't pay this amount of note. I don't give a fuck if I didn't pay 50 notes. Did the judge sign a document and tell y'all to come out here and take this Benz? No. It was a fucking bank where you gave a security interest when you signed the note. See, if you look at the documents and you read them on a house, credit card, anything where it says you have to take a loan, whose signature is required? Your signature is required for anything. Your signature is. Now, they got all of this shit that's going on now. Everybody telling you go in 15 USC and the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and all of these consumer shits, as if this shit is something new. It's people that have already did these things. May have fucked up here, there, and you know what I mean? But they already did these things. But there was a company, and it was called The Credit Game. And The Credit Game, they used to try to tell you ways to, like little things that try to get you around the laws and try to, bring to light certain laws that you should know about. But see, people enter into contracts and don't read the contract. I remember there was a time a motherfucker would say, all right, you got this amount to put down, and then you got this amount, this is what you're going to pay in your note. Now they asking you, how much can you afford? And then you tell them how much you can afford, and that fucking, they'll get you a deal, try to get you in there, and then try to hit you with that down payment. Good faith is good faith. If the United States prints up a certain amount of money to the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve says, okay, all right, well, we're going to print up that amount of money, and then you gotta pay us that back. Yo, we always be in debt. So let me ask you this: if the United States can live off of debt and operate off of debt and have you pay taxes all these fucking years, all of these people that's in the United fucking States paying taxes, then you can't require that certain things be correct or anything. Can you or can't you? Because the federal law and under our system of government and supremacy of the law, the federal law is supreme, is the supreme law of the land by the Constitution and the statutes. So if the federal government puts in something called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, then the states, almost every state will have something similar to that. So when I was indicted back in 2005 or 2006, it was for making a false statement on a loan application, meaning someone said they made more money than they actually made. Someone else signed the documents than was supposed to sign the documents, and they called that identity theft. Then they came up with a law, and it was called aggravated identity theft, meaning that law, the aggravated identity theft, if you did some type of bank fraud or whatever the fuck they wanted to call it, then they hit you with an extra 2 years consecutive to your sentence. I was one of those persons that got caught up right in there, but I was also one of those persons that argued that bullshit was bullshit. So I read a book. It was called The Ascent of Money. Like I told you, I read a couple books that had to do with money before I myself wrote, not no fucking attorney. I wrote it myself, and I wrote it to my judge, and I told him why I shouldn't be responsible for if you sit up here and convict me of a crime of doing something to harm a bank. A bank. That bank got insurance through the FDIC. That's number one. That bank has that insurance. Also, if they take the property or the judge signs that order, they take that order that the judge signed, and people don't know this. When the judge signs an order of restitution or whatever that he's trying to put against you, they immediately take the order that he signed. Let's say it's for $1 million. That $1 million is immediately put onto the stock market and sold on face value for $1 million. And then you're supposed to continue to pay that restitution. Under the Constitution of the United States, you can't be locked up for a debt. You're asked to pay a debt, but you don't get locked up for it. Meaning your parole, your probation officer, whoever. Yeah, they might say, yo, I want this and I want that. But can they lock you up for it? No, because at the end of the day, if you don't pay it, what they gonna do? Squeeze blood from a fucking rock? I don't got it. I don't have it. But they know that they already got it. The same thing with a mortgage. When you sign your name to mortgage documents for, let's say, $4 million, the reason the bank need that shit overnight is because you look on the back of those mortgage documents and they stamp it. And it says for deposit only. That's that bank depositing your promissory note to pay a certain amount of money that they did not have. You gave that to them. They open up an account in your name and then they deposit that promissory note in there just like they deposit fucking a check. Or a dollar bill. You think cash, people think cash is cash. Read the note. Read the Federal Reserve note. It's a Federal fucking Reserve note. Now, I'm not going to go in and give a whole fucking class about this shit. I just wanted to show that shit I was saying years ago and how I was doing my properties and the success of my company some years ago. All of a sudden, you have people that's on Instagram and everything, and they're saying that this is the way to do business now. This is the legitimate way to do business now, which I always knew that it was always the way to do legitimate business because, number one, if there's a stock market and you can anonymously buy stock and then sell it, or you got companies big as Goldman Sachs and all of them that bet on stock. Did you know that BlackRock betted on Donald Trump? Being murdered, and I'm telling you, they betted, they shorted the stock on that, on one of his companies. So I want you to listen to, let me see, this is on Mystery Gang. Let me see if this is uploaded so you guys can actually look at it rather than just hear it. Yep, it already uploaded. Let me download it. Now, one of the things that I keep showing you on this channel is about property.
Investment properties by going to the bank and applying for credit.
So let me show you this right here. Let me share this with you. Let me present my screen and listen to what this man is saying. You don't have to believe him, but go fucking look it up.
traditional way. The traditional way of doing real estate is pretty much dead. But the good thing is there's a much better way. Check it out. That's right. You can buy an investment property by taking over the existing mortgage and leaving that in the seller's name while the deed to the property gets transferred to you. No applying for credit, no qualifying for debt. This is the right way to do real estate. It's called subject to the existing financing. You can buy the investment property subject to the underlying mortgage. So you're not assuming that mortgage and applying for it. You are simply taking over the existing payments. These strategies have been suppressed by the powers that be in the real estate industry for a very long time, and they suppress them for a reason. They have suppressed these strategies for a reason. It's a safer investment for us, and it gives the people more control. We don't have to go to the bank and make them our middleman and pay them a bunch of money or give them the chance to tell us, no, you don't qualify for that. So we can cut them out and become the bank. If you want to learn more about this game-changing strategy, I'm having a 2-day mastermind here in Houston, Texas. Now you can come in person or it's virtual as well. So you can head over to my profile, click that link to learn more about how you can start to buy investment property. Why?
You hear this nigga? Now I'm looking at him with all that gray in his beard, so maybe he older than me. Maybe he's older than me. Or maybe he's the same age as me. He's in Houston, Texas. This is shit I was doing, my company was doing in 2005. Like, you go to somebody, and we used to call the people, yo, every sign that you see that's red and white, you bring me that phone number so I can call and make a deal with those people so they don't have to cut out the realtor and everything. But the only thing that I did was I brought everybody to the table. The buyer, the seller, and I may have paid for $500 to get it, the property, to see if the property was holding up at a certain amount. Meaning, if someone put their property on the market for $600,000, it needed to be able to carry that $600,000 when the appraiser came out there, and a bank would have to say, yo, we agree, yes, about $600,000, right? So in comes me, you don't need a real estate license to buy and sell real estate. You don't need all of that. You don't need a license. You don't have to be a real estate agent. You're a fucking person that has property, and if you own it, you can sell it. Do I got to go to the state? Do I got to go to the governor and say, can I sell this? Do I got to go to somebody and ask somebody, can I sell this? Fuck no, you don't got to go to anybody. You got the right. You have a right to barter and to sell whatever you want in the United States. This is the United States. This says 08/13/2024. Today. So back in the day, in like 2005, 2006, I used to bring a seller and a buyer together. Now, in between there, yeah, I need my breakdown because I brought y'all together. But I guaranteed that you were going to close in a certain amount of time. I guaranteed that seller who wanted to get out of that property, I guaranteed them. I guaranteed them number one because you have an open house for people to come look at that property. Now let me get in as far as the money situation gets into it. You charge people money to get their credit ran if you had to run a credit program or anything like that. But most people don't know about their credit, and they believe that they have to keep renting. They don't know that they can get a mortgage if that's what they want, a mortgage. Or I give them 18 months and say, listen, within 18 months, because I already made this with whoever is selling it, and they owe, let's say their mortgage is $1,000 a month. Okay, what I'm gonna do is say, listen, you can get this property, but you're gonna pay about $1,200 a month. Or if there was a single parent or a single mother, I would just charge her the exact amount of the mortgage. I'm not looking for it. I'm looking for my money on the back end or the front end. If I had to, I would charge during the middle, meaning that 18 months, I'm making a certain amount of money every month off that property. And I agreed with the owner to do that. But what most people don't know is when you sign a real estate, a purchase and sell agreement, at the time that you sign it, you have given all your rights to do whatever you had to do with that property. You have given that all over to whoever, whatever company that you signed it with, which would be my company. But I'm guaranteeing you, I'm not a real estate, I'm not a realtor. So I'm not going to tell you, yo, every week I got to take it down. No, I lock everybody in at the table. You agree to buy this property at this price. I agree with the seller to sell it at a certain price. And for the time being, I'm the owner of that property because we have a signed contract. But I let you know in there, and that's called a clause. Used to be clause 10. And clause 10 would say, I'm not moving into your property. I'm not buying your property. I'm not moving in there or anything. I have the unqualified right to sell your property to somebody else that's, they willing to buy that property. I already got my crib. So now, if you would look at me as I'm an investor, I'm not a fucking real estate agent. I don't, you know, I don't have to say anything to, the state of anywhere that I go. I don't have to say, yo, um, have to have a number or anything like that, have to qualify by a course or anything. I don't have to do none of that. All I got to do is sign a fucking purchase and sell agreement. You can get a purchase and sell agreement from fucking Staples or whatever. Change it up the way you want to change it up or whatever, whether it's commercial property or whether it's residential property. I thought this was the funniest shit because, yeah, I did time for this. But not only did I do time for doing this, I had a restitution and a judgment against me. Shout out to the Empress from California State. Salute, salute. But I had a judgment against me to pay the banks back money that they allegedly lost, that George Bush, which people don't realize, they always think it's Obama, but it's not. It was George Bush. George Bush bailed the banks out. Obama just kept it going on. And that shit was called the TARP, the HARP, whatever the fuck it was. You can go right on anywhere and look and see what banks paid back, what banks paid back the money that they got already was paid for what they allegedly lost, not knowing you had already given them that money with that promissory note. And the reason why I know it's true is because when I bought my first home for my family, I promised my then father-in-law, who's since passed away, I promised I was going to buy the home within 2 to 3 years. So when we first purchased that home, we got it at like $180,000. I fixed that property up and it was brought up to like $250,000. This wasn't in Philly. This was out in a suburb of Philly. So just because I fixed the house up, the appraiser came out and appraised it for more. And I was able to take money out of the property within 2 years. Just because I put pergo floors, marble floors in the kitchen, hung some lights that I got from fucking, those lights came from fucking, what's the name of that yellow and blue store from Germany? Yeah, some fancy fucking lights. And I went to Home Depot and got some marble floors. And then the wooden floors that was already in there, yeah, I stripped them down or had them stripped down, and then I, threw that shellac back on them. When the appraiser, and then I put a new front door on there. And that was back in 2006. I can show you the property right now. And it got the same shit that I put in that house all those years ago. Is still in that house right now. All I did was have my father-in-law sell me the property so it would be in my name. And then I paid him a price for doing that for me, just out of love. That's just what you're supposed to do. Like, you got this house for me and my kids and my wife so we could have our own property that we're not paying no fucking rent. I took the money that I did that, and I put that into my business to continue to do the same thing that this man right here in 2024. He telling you this is the way to go. I've been what? I was doing that shit already. I can bring up my indictment right now and show you every fucking property. That's all we were doing. Grabbing the property from the seller to see what that seller was willing to accept to walk away from that property. The thing that I did was I would come to the table with the buyer already. The seller already made it. So when I come to the table, and before I even went to the table, and this is what I always say, I always know the back door before I walk into the front door, meaning I know how to get out of the deal before I get into the deal. So either we getting ready to flip this house or we going to lease option it, meaning I'm going to put someone in that property that wants that property. They may not know that they can get a mortgage, but I already ran your credit. Legally, I ran your credit. And I wouldn't give a fuck if a nigga came in there and he had a 800 credit score. If a single parent came in there, that's what I'm going to go with, the single parent. A single woman. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to give her that time to come up with that money. Because the worst thing that I can think of is to be a mother, a single parent, and you don't have a roof to put over your child's head. That's not an experience that anybody wants. Is to be living in a shelter, living homeless, if they don't have to live homeless. That young lady that I'm talking about, I remember that her child's father had died on a motorcycle in a motorcycle accident, and she had a young child that was in school in the neighborhood that I had this property in. We did our thing to that property, and we gave it to her. Back then, that was called creative financing. Creative financing. Back then, this was like right around the time of the towers came down. And I want you to listen again to what he says so I can tell you about taking over mortgages, because he leaves something out right here.
Investment properties by going to the bank and applying for credit the traditional way. The traditional way of doing real estate is pretty much dead, but the good thing is there's a much better way. Check it out. That's right. You can buy an investment property by taking over the existing mortgage and leaving that in the seller's name while the deed to the property gets transferred to you.
Now, that part right there, when he says the deed to the property gets transferred to you, that's some new shit that I ain't hear. And maybe in some states that is true. That is not something that is universal or whatever. In any mortgage papers, they have something that's called the due on sale clause, meaning that clause of that mortgage document Meaning that if you try to sell that property, let's say you change the deed during the time that that mortgage is still due, the bank can call that shit in. Yo, we need all our bread right now because you changed who owned it. Now, if it was before, I think it was before 84, you used to could just sign your mortgage over to whoever you wanted to sign it over to take over the mortgage. This is law. This isn't something that I'm making up or I'm telling you. This is what I've experienced, how I started my company. I was working for AIG Life Insurance Company, and they wanted me to come for, I don't know, with that severance package shit. And I took real estate instead of going for their severance package, and I closed the deal. And I think we got $40,000 that day, which that $40,000 at one time right there was more than, I mean, it was about what I made sitting as and working for, Mr. Charlie in his law department. I made my salary. I made that in one day by a signature. That was back in 2000 and it's 2001, November 2001. See, other motherfuckers flip other things. Flipping real estate. Yeah, that's a come up too. Flipping real estate. And I know you heard this on channels, and you believe that you have to do a lot. I'm telling you that there is a software, and you don't even really need the software. You just need a common knowledge of where you're at. Meaning, I know that, let's say I see them doing some regentrification in a certain area of Philadelphia. So let's take it for instance, uh, South Philadelphia near Graduate Hospital. There's doctors there. They get off of work. They don't feel like going driving all the way the fuck out to the suburbs and everything. When they work downtown at Graduate Hospital, they wanna live somewhere close. But in that area, you have some uh, people that have had those houses, and this is one of the things I regret in some ways. In other ways, I don't regret it, but is that the older our the older part of our generations, they've never seen $50,000 right in front of their face, not knowing that, hey, I'm I'm getting ready to sell this for like 600,000, 450,000 after I fix it up. If it's an ugly house, and if it's a pretty house, yeah, I'm gonna sell it for this. So what you do is you get enough complaints in a neighborhood about, and I hate to say this, but we used to say $5,000 for everybody that was standing on a corner and they had on what we call the Philadelphia uniform, which was at that time it was jean shorts and a white tee. They had a white T-shirt. If they were standing on the corner, you count them, and that's how much you know to offer the person that was selling their property right in that area. Because on the corner, you already know the police got to come out there and get these jokers up out the corner. Because people ain't trying to walk around there and see all these white T-shirts standing on the corner. And then the bar that used to be there, they don't want a bar that was owned by somebody. Yo, you was black, and then it was all of this bussing. Niggas was bussing out there, bop 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 bop. Yeah, they don't want that. So part of knowing your back door before you enter the front door is knowing that I'm gonna be able to get rid of this property within 6 months. So I'm gonna put up, me and the partner, we're gonna put up 6 months worth of payments when we grab this property with this mortgage on it. If someone hasn't bought it in that time, you give it to the real estate agent. You already made your money up front because you took out the equity out of the property. But you give it to the real estate agent, and if a real estate agent is good and aggressive, they're going to sell that property within 6 months because they want their cut. They're 3.5% in Pennsylvania, or whatever it is, 7% if they represent both sides, whatever it is now. I don't even care about that right now because that's not my that's not what I'm looking to do because of the families that it hurt. And it seems like taking advantage of people that don't know. Like there's a part of Philadelphia, the Temple area of Philadelphia, and that Temple area expands and expands and it expands. So a house that, you know, the city is only assessing a house at maybe $25,000 or maybe $50,000. That's what the city assessor is saying it is. Because when they come out there, the assessor, real estate goes up every year. It don't matter if you do anything to the property. But that real estate goes up every year and it goes up. I don't know what the analytics is. I don't even give a fuck. I know that I never listen to what the assessor says. I listen to the private, personal, and professional opinion of the appraiser that the bank uses. They don't go to do you think they go to the city and be like, yo, how much this house worth? They don't give a fuck what the city saying is worth. They don't give a fuck what the county saying is worth. They don't give a fuck about that. They want to know what the appraiser is saying. So if the appraiser can go and let me tell you how an appraisal goes down. They'll take like 3 properties that's within a certain that recently sold that's similar to the property that you're doing. And that's how they get that your number for what the area is selling for in a certain area, meaning that that area is circular and it goes out maybe 0.5 miles or a mile. and they get the best numbers that they can get. So if those numbers are, let's say, 100,000, and you're getting that property at $25,000, or you're getting that property at 7,500, whatever it is, depending upon whether the property needs work or it's a pretty house, that's a pretty good fucking deal. See, the problem is where it comes in is when when we come to the deal and we got everything that we need to come to the deal and close on this property. And they give us a whole bunch of shit. Or when you have crabs in the barrel ass niggas where you don't tell them what the property got appraised at. Because I had to say this, and this is something that I taught to my daughters. Yo, you never are the first one to say a number. And I hate to say it, that come from Donald Trump. Never be the first one to say a number. I've kept that. So, because I had his first book, and I'm not saying anything towards negative or positive towards Donald Trump, except for that I learned a lot from what Donald Trump did. Licensing his name, the Trump name, to living off of debt, to net operating losses, and to buying real estate. Whether it was commercial or residential. So after doing that with property, some people don't like it, and some people they seem to see it's okay. Um, I can say that I've never evicted anyone from a property. I always tried to work it out, and you have to work it out. And you can't be greedy about money, because once you get greedy about money, that's when everything else comes into play. So I have a partner that me and this partner, we got money together through another means, and then I was doing the real estate, but they were on the streets. That's it. I'm just going to say that they were on the streets. The first thing that I did when I did when we did our deal was to grab somewhere to put my family, which is real estate. I didn't want no fucking apartment where I got to worry about when the motherfucker gonna come fix the water. And I was tired of all of that. I wanted my very own property where I call the shots. I can say who can come on my property, all of that. So my first property that I bought for my family, That's what my kids remember. It was in a certain part of Pennsylvania. And I'm just going to tell you this. It was in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. One of the counties that, you know, you have a lot of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, is a part of Pennsylvania that people would like to move to. Certain parts of Chester County, certain parts of Bucks County. There are certain parts of all of the counties in Pennsylvania that people would love to live in because they just don't want the drama that comes from the inner city, which is Philadelphia. But the trick is to get all the black people or to get all of the people to move out into the counties so that the new generation that, you know, loves the fast life, these new professionals that work, that want to work, that want to live right where they work at, or, you know, a few blocks away, they can walk, they don't have to have a car and all of that. They can catch an Uber, a Lyft to work. So Philadelphia was up and rising the skyline, and that's how you tell a city, by its skyline. To stay in the downtown parts of a city, that's for certain people to stay down there. You have to make a certain amount of money. And it might start expanding up a certain street in Philadelphia that would be Broad Street. You go down Broad Street from Center City and you go down Broad Street, going down south, all the way down until you get almost to the naval base, the old naval base. And then going northwards on Broad Street, it goes all the way up, probably right now to about Lehigh Avenue, maybe more, where they're redoing properties. And these are places where people used to go and buy drugs or whatever, but they get you out of Dodge. Right now, if you went up Frankfort Avenue, there's a park called Kensington. And I remember looking at a property and it was worth $1.5 million. And the property looked good until you actually drive the fuck down there and then you see all these people dipped over. Yeah, the cops are holding them back. They back a certain part behind a certain limit. Yeah, you can't come past this part, but y'all can do all the drugs the fuck you want to do, but y'all got to stay past. You can't come past there. And they got the city doing that, and then they show pictures of that shit. And guess what? By the point of view, you looking at it, and you saying, "Damn, yeah, I like that property." Then there's the other way to do property. Buy land. In Philadelphia, there's grants and everything for companies that will purchase some land somewhere and will build straight up. Because in Philly, there's mostly, well, in Philly, like in most neighborhoods, you have row houses, meaning they're together. Now, there could have been a fire in a house that was next to you, and then that land right there, there is no land. There is no property. It's just land. So you get the land for like, I don't know, maybe anywhere up to $7,500. Then you get somebody to build you a house up for $140,000, and then you sell it right down in here for 500,000, 400,000. It's going to sell because you already know that you're buying in a sellable neighborhood where people want to live at. My grandmother was the first one to actually, I want to say my grandmother was the first one to actually teach me the importance of property and property value. Because I look at the prices that she purchased her home, and she didn't believe me when my grandmother came to me and the properties that she bought. And she said that, those tenants, my grandmother is getting older, and my grandmother is, or was, um, she was austere. She didn't like, she was harsh. She needed that bread, and she needed that bread. But she did mix it with some kindness. But at some point, you can't allow people to continuously take advantage of you on a property, coming up with an excuse. So my grandmother, coming from Georgia, came into Philadelphia, worked a job at Abington Hospital as like a CNA, but was able to purchase about 3 properties in Philadelphia. When at the amount of the time that she purchased those properties and how much they were worth when she wanted to sell them, they were 5 times the value. But my grandmother allowed her family to stay in those houses. But when she got tired of family just trying to take advantage of her, she came to me. Because although I treasure my family, I treasure them, I love them to death, my daughters and everything. If you ain't gonna follow the rules, you have to go. So I had a lot of family members, same last names, that I kept my mouth closed. I didn't tell them what my elders, my grandmother, her sisters told me to do. I just did. They asked for a certain amount on the properties, and if the family member that was staying in that property, they didn't want to go by that because they didn't want to go look up the laws and or whatever. I mean, I'll give you an example of a 3 bedroom house in Philadelphia. If someone is only charging you $200 to stay in a 3 bedroom house, and you've been standing there for 30 years, for $200. And there is probably about 5 adults in there that's working. There's no way that y'all can't come up with $200. I would love to pay $200 a month for a 3-bedroom house any fucking where right now. You'll pay that shit up for the year. I know that I could, or I would try to. People call me an asshole for that. And it took a lot of time for me to get to the point of where I'm at now with my family and with other partners that I've been telling this is the way that we do our real estate. And to get this, what I just showed you today, that they saying that the traditional way. What tradition? What was the fucking tradition? Because I thought that we always sold real estate was to be sold. You buy low and sell high. Isn't that how the stock market go? Is to buy low, sell high. I guess it really doesn't mean that. I mean, it doesn't bring me any thing where I want to do jumps and flips or anything like that. Um, about the way that I flip properties and see all of these people that have reality shows about flipping properties. The shit has been going on forever. Forever. And our people indigenous to this land are just learning their property rights. You're just learning the Constitution. How to put liens on the land, how to put lis pending on property, how to cancel mortgages. And there's if anyone wants to look, there's a book. It's called Mortgage Wars. And it tells you about, and that's not the only one, but there's a lot of books out here that tell you about the mortgage. The bank doesn't give you any money. They don't have it. We're on a fractional reserve system. The bank ain't give you shit. You gave them something. You don't know how much your signature matters on a lot of things. I don't need no fucking realtor to tell me shit. You know what I use a realtor for? Yeah, you go into that system that costs you all that money, and I need to know where those properties at and how much they cost and all of that. And yes, I want the realtor to be paid their money. The realtor has to be paid their money. And for me, I pay the realtor, the broker. Now, a realtor and a broker could be the same thing, but very seldom do you get that. A realtor is a broker of the real estate, but the broker I'm talking about is the one that gets that mortgage from the bank. But it takes time and dedication to look up the banking laws, to look up the Federal Reserve and their laws or their policies, whatever the fuck you want to call it, for banks. And if you wanted to invest in the stock market, you should look at those things, but you should know those things. That there is a Federal Reserve system. And if you're I'm not going to say lucky enough, but if you're just skilled enough to know where um, there's getting ready to possibly be regentrification, you go in and you get it low. But the older you get, you start realizing that the people that are being evicted from their properties, or not evicted, or being bought out from their properties, what about their youngins? What do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know. They just know that they have to pick up and they have to leave. And they want to come back to their neighborhood where they know they grew up at. An example of this is the bottom in Philadelphia. The bottom bin is down there, Drexel and all of that. At some point, those places have to be cleaned up. And you wait for the proper mayor to come in that's going to really clean it up. And every mayor, every politician has a promise of what they're going to do when they get into the office, where they're from, and all of that. And the prime example is Mayor Street. He was, I think he was our second black mayor after Mayor Good. But one of the things that Mayor Street did when he was in house in Philadelphia is the us indigenous people. We ate. We ate. He fixed up North Philadelphia to be a certain way. All of that Temple area being revitalized and all that, that was Mayor Street. There was all types of grants available. You didn't have to steal no money from nowhere. You don't have to lie or anything. Now, I'm not saying, that people weren't using favors and everything, but I don't see giving people 10 fucking years to introduce them to one person, and I gave you some Super Bowl tickets and I get 10 years in jail. That's for Corey Kemp. If anybody remembers at the beginning of the PPP loans and all of those things that was coming into play with the pandemic, y'all don't remember when they first came out? It was all congressmen and senators that had used their families and all of that stuff to get that bread. They had their family members named as executors or whatever over their estates or whatever, however they formed a company over a trust, however they did it. It wasn't them, but it led back to them. That was the first round. Y'all see anybody go to jail? Can y'all pick out a senator or a congressman that went to jail? A U.S. congressman, a U.S. senator that went to jail because they had fucking land down in, I don't know, the eastern coast and the eastern southern coast, and used that money and did whatever they had to do with it on a PPP loan. But as soon as an indigenous person, a reality TV star gets it, they booked that motherfucker. I never seen nobody get booked that fast. I'm trying to tell you, and I mean that. In the feds, you at least have like a year before you get actually booked, then sent to your jail and all of that sentence and everything. No, they booked him very quickly. Like they was fucking following him from the moment that he got the shit. They was on his top. Then he went on Instagram showing his nice watch. Watched him from the rip. I can't even remember his name. Don't care about his name. There's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of fuckery that goes on in our government, goes on by nosy neighbors, that goes on by the police, that goes on by a lot of people. They just want to tell. They just want, I'm going to tell on you. Some of your family, I'm going to tell on you because you're trying to come up, not realizing that everybody that you're trying to tell on and who you're trying to tell to, you think they family haven't done any crimes to come up. I just saw that Donald Trump, even if he wins, even if Donald Trump wins, it's possible that they're going to invoke the 14th Amendment, I think it's Section 3, against him. So my point is this. Stop having your picks, who you want to allow to eat and who you're not going to allow to eat. And that's for you melanated people. Why you got your picks and your choices, who you going to allow to eat? How you going to choose how a man can eat? in the United States, we had the freedom of religion. We had the freedom of religion. You worship whoever you want to worship, but your worship should not impinge upon the worship of anybody else. So it doesn't matter who you worship. You're supposed to be able to buy property anywhere. There is no such thing as a Jewish town where black people should not be able to live in that Jewish town. There should not be a Arab town in any part of it. We're not, this is not overseas. We're talking about America. I don't give a fuck if the borders is open or they close. Everybody, this is the land of opportunity. And how can someone that stole the land from the beginning start wanting to make laws to try and prohibit anybody from owning land? You would think that the United States, and I just learned about this, a loyal title, that you cannot get that in the United States, which is an absolute title to your property. So you're actually, even though you may pay for the property taxes, land, all of that, that the government can come in through eminent domain or any other way and just take your shit. But the government is not building property. They want the property that's already built. They want the land that's already developed. So that what's for you? Develop land where your family established themselves as the indigenous Americans. That your family name, you look up your family name, look down your mother's lineage. It's going to, I promise you, it's going to come down to a handwritten book and tell you who married who their father was, who their mother was, where they were born, and everything. That's how you find out where you come from. That's how you find out. And I take my hats off always to people like Dane Calloway for him and his wife and all of the work that they're doing to teach people where they come from, where you can find your land, tell you the truth about what exists in writing, in black and white, and show you how the indigenous people of this land, we always been more successful. And I'm not trying to divide races. I'm not. I really am not. Because through it all, this is what I had to learn, even with my daughter. I missed 7 or 8 years from her life, her and my oldest daughter. I was not able to put my imprint on them on the things that I thought were right and wrong. I had a problem with their mother calling herself a single parent when I was incarcerated, because when I was incarcerated, I lived off the land and I still tried to send money home to my kids so they know daddy was still there, and that's how I am right now. And I'm not the one that believes that when you're 18, you're an adult. I believe that a child's mind needs to develop to the year maybe around 25. I may be wrong, but around 25 and up, that's when the mind is developed enough, maybe developed enough that these kids understand right from wrong. Um, Credit, they understand how to operate in this world. No matter how much we think they are our babies, like every parent or anybody that has a child will always figure that know how old no never how old your kid get, they still your babies, they're your seed. And over the past couple of years I've had with that doxing shit, I had to I had to do a lot of rumbling trying to protect my children from a threat. And I'll keep doing it. And I am going to keep doing it. No matter what, I'm going to keep doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where I'm at, whether I'm in a facility for rehabilitation or if I'm in the streets. The kids are your kids. They are future, and you gonna die one day. But what are those kids gonna have? What are you working towards? What are you doing right now to work towards? How are you trying to learn? What are you trying to do to work towards giving those kids, whether they be adults or not, a chance, a chance to make it in the world? What are you telling them? What are you showing them? What are you teaching them? I don't want to show my kids, and I never did want to show them the quick come up or anything like that. I wanted to show them real estate, and I wanted them to know their family. They didn't go that way, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. But let me bring this full circle right now. I caught a lot of slack because I kept asking for justice for Mo 3. I cannot believe how much and how many people hated this man so much, or how much money went into showing the hatred for this man. Because he bust his gun, allegedly. much attention was given to all of these people around him, his manager, all of that shit. Yet, right now, we know that that man did a live and was asking and was talking about the real estate he had for his children. His children. He said for the next 50 years. And I looked up the paperwork and I saw all of those things that was going on in the copyright case, and they were asking about what was going into the, Brandon Rainwater, what his relationship with the estate was, with his relationship with the lawyers for the estate. When I looked at all of that shit, it showed me that the defendants, the cousins of Mo 3, and whoever Pearly Gates is, they're by no way stupid. That they're not falling for the tricks of ownership of real estate. And it showed me that the accounting of the real estate, that these people that were around him, his mom, his brother, Rainwater, his manager, and all of the other people around him may not have realized it until they watched certain channels or they came up on certain information. And I hope that this channel has given them some information that they know. Yeah, I'm not shutting up about Mo 3. I think everything when I go live is centered on him and his kids, because you can't care about someone else's kids more than you care about your own kids. You can't care about or give to anyone's kids or their parents if you can't care about your own. And when I do the research and doing research, the one thing I wanted to do was I always wanted to give to the foundation and could not figure out. I could not, the one thing that I never could figure out in the case of Mo 3 is who is actually in control of the foundation, because a foundation is a .org, O-R-G. .com is usually for a company that's for profit. And for me to see that Miss Nicole was looking at a .com channel, was taking off the .org account, and just to find out, I don't know what the accountant is of the foundation is, and for people to try to use the foundation for Mo3 now to try to say they were doing this and they were doing that, I, you know, it's something. That's harsh for me to say. Shout out to Scorpio Problems. I know that um, I don't know how deep the Mo3 case goes. I was not trying to get too deep in it, and let me that this isn't me backing down. I don't give a fuck, yo. Let me tell you something right now. I'm not on that tip. I don't give a fuck about that because I'm not a blood. I'm not a crip. I'm not a part of any gang. I'm a part of the human fucking race. I have my beliefs. And how I was brought up, and then how I know that I was brought up. And this is no shot to my mom. My mom was young when she had us, and I know my mom right now loves me to this day, and I love her. But regardless of ex-wife or current wife or anything, my mom and my sister knows that the only thing that I care about more than anything in this world is that my girls are successful in this world. Even if I don't agree with my mom, I still have my sister there, and she knows how I play. So there's this thing called a trust, and then there's called a beneficiary, then there's called a trustee, and then you draw up your trust and you draw it up how you have to draw it up so that you make sure that the people that's supposed to be taken care of in that trust are taken care of. And that includes the transfer of estate assets into a trust. And the people who believe that they're getting away with uh, Mo3's money at some point, they got away with some Mo3's money. We're in the discovery stage right now. What I was showing earlier was what they call interrogatories, where they ask questions and they want answers from the estate. And the way they was asking questions from the estate, all they were trying to do was find out Brandon Rainwater and the lawyers surrounding him. What was their relationship with the estate and those who were the members or who are the members of the estate, which don't include the mother, Miss Nicole, or the brother, Kogati. They're not a part of, or the father. It's everybody else, the baby mothers. And when that brings, no great joy, because I don't know what happened down there. I felt that, and some people had told me, but I wasn't the fuck there. I wasn't with this joker when Ashley Marie and Mo three. When they copulated, I don't know his child. I don't know what she looked like, or um, if you can line him up and say, "Hey, look just like him, just don't look like him," whatever. I don't know. I don't know if there was a DNA test done or anything. I know that at a certain point, I was listening to something and I said that that was not Mo three's baby, that child. I was listening to somebody, and I went and checked a couple other things to see if this was true. I must say this: I don't know Ashley Marie, but if Mo three said that was his child, he said that was his child. He do it because when I had to look at it as from my point of view, and that's I claim my daughters, they my daughters. I ain't trying to hear nobody tell me that they not, but I'm alive to say, yo, these are my daughters. And if a motherfucker said that it wasn't, I'm gonna tell you, yeah, I might try like to put his teeth out for saying that. And I see people keep going with that narrative where I pull back from the narrative and I don't know what Ashley Marie, I don't know what none of these baby moms of Mo 3, what their motives are, what their portions were, because we don't see it. We see some connections here, we see some connections there. Ashley Marie has the tendency, as does my kids, to talk too much or talk when they should not talk. And I hope it reaches her because I'm seeing a lot of people starting to click up, and then there's the circle just reinvents itself. The same people that I know that they tried to um, run a play on me and I stopped the play, I see them somewhere else trying to run the play. And pretty much I just say I don't give a fuck. Like I really don't give a fuck, but I really do give a fuck. I really do, because if I were to allow people to say, we're going to look into your money, we're going to look into this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that, because I just want justice for this man. I'd be a punk. And that's not what I would want for my daughters to ever think that they could give up for anything that they stood for and they thought that was right. Everybody wants what's right for their kids. And I remember there was a time where someone accused me I was treating one kid better than the other, and I had to go back and look, and it made me overcompensate and try to, you know, overcompensate, take care of one child or show one child more than I was showing the other child, because the other child mentioned it or the mother mentioned it. And I only got two. I only got a dooney boom, a deuce. That I hope that by now that both of my girls know I love them equally. That not one of them is more important than the other. That the success of one of them is not more important than the success of the other. And that I'm proud of them, whatever route that they have chosen to do, whatever it is that they wanted to do it. I'm proud of them. If my oldest daughter doesn't ask me for a dime, I'm proud of her. If my young daughter asks me for money, I'm proud of her, because she didn't ask her mother, who comes and asks me in a certain way, and that shit get me mad. And then a motherfucker, it throw me off. I'm ready to go off. Like, yo, why she keep talking to you, won't talk to me? When my daughter asks me directly for money, I'm good. I feel that brightens my day. But the business at hand is, my daughters were young and didn't understand the importance, and may not understand the importance of property and the maintenance of property. And I hope they do now. And that's from what we went through, where I have to show at 50 years old, show the government, show anybody I learned everything that I know by watching you. You're not watching me, I'm watching you. That includes agents, assistant United States attorneys, district attorneys, all of that. I'm watching all of them because do you think at 50 years old, I got time to be going back to jail for some shit on the internet or some shit that the government tried to put in place? And that, whereas the first time I allowed you as a young man, I allowed you to do whatever it was. You didn't think that I would shore up. When I say shore up. No, I don't have to hide anything. Documentation is documentation. It can be documented wherever it want in the public fucking record. Through birth certificates, all of those things. Through word of mouth, through a Bible, words written in the Bible that this person was the mother of this person and that person was the mother of this person. And you don't let anybody just get anything over on you that they want to get over on you in business. Like, what the fuck you in business for? Don't get in business. Go work for Mr. Charlie. If you want to work for Mr. Charlie, go work for Mr. fucking Charlie. When my probation officer, when you guys, whoever, I'm not going to say names, but whoever was contacting my PO, when they were contacting my PO and this lady kept coming after me, I start telling her about my constitutional rights, and she kept coming after me and coming after me. And then I started catching on to what was going on and what you people are doing right here on this internet in the Mo3 sector. And you people were, you are who you are, and you from where you're from. At the end of the day, I don't know you. And actually, you could be somebody that's right in the office with my PO. You could be someone you just on another computer because she directs me to a certain room, and but I make sure I look at everybody. But she directs me to a certain room to go sit down in front of. The first thing I question is the camera that's sitting right there. And what that got to do with the internet or people on this internet? Why am I being asked about people that's on the internet? So how many of us out there, and it's only 4 people over here watching right now. Like, yo, think about it. If you, if you go in there and your people asking you, and the people asking you about people on the internet, well, what would you think, or what would you do, or how would it go? How would it go with you? How much of your um, knowledge of the law can stop them in their tracks? And then again, how much can $10 million? I keep telling you about the money. How much can that make you expendable? And I said one of the things that I used was that, like, listen, why would I get all of my channels back and get access to my channels from Google after one person, Ratchet TV, the first person to admit, yeah, I got all of those channels taken down. And after what I showed, and all the text messages that exist between Ratchet TV and myself from Carolina, South Carolina, the Instagrams, all the way from certain people testing me that I would not think I will always be tested. I mean, this the reality of the world that we live into is being tested to see what lengths we will go through. So I'll say this, and I don't give a fuck who listens. About your kids, your kids. I know about my kids. I don't give a fuck about no state laws, no federal laws, none of that, and everything. At the very instant somebody is trying to put that work in and trying to say trying to harm my kids, I'm ready to go to work. In whatever arena we talking about. Whatever arena we talking about, as far as my children. So as far as Ashley Murray, because I've been worrying about somebody that continues to follow me on Instagram, and I don't know this person is, and they every now and then they say something to me and they ask me questions. I don't know if this is the fucking feds. I don't know who the fuck it is. I know people contact me, have me do certain things, and then I see you on a certain channel and I fall back and I just say, hey, But one nigga I will never lose sight of, and that's the big horse teeth, Mr. Ed looking motherfucker Rainwater. And what's his angle or whatever, because he came over here. I don't like to lose. I don't give a fuck who it is against. I don't give a fuck if it's against the United States of America. I don't give a fuck if it's the government of anywhere else. Anybody comes against me, I know how to go look right up the law and see, okay, what's the law at what I need to do to get back at these people that's trying to do this to me or trying to do this to my children, just as the woman that bare them when she needed help. It was me, not no fucking lawyer. It was me. I'm the one that went there and fought. Now, I went to jail, but I didn't even go to jail to get stupid. I didn't go to jail to get, wiser to the law, but I ain't want to go to jail. I got sent to jail. So I got sent to jail. While I was in there, you gave me some choices in there that I can go read law books, or I can go out there and lift weights, or I could do both at a certain time or whatever. You have man's law, then you got the law of God. But once you look into it, really, you'll see that um, if you put God's law first, you'll understand and see how man's law is supposed to go in accord with God's law, because what the Bible says. But if it don't go that way, you don't follow that law. And I don't follow laws that, like I said, right now, the person who I am and what I've been through, I'm not trying to follow God's law. I ain't saying I'm trying to hurt somebody. I'm just not ready I'm not getting ready to sit up here and speak Christ to you and tell you how to go get saved and all that. I'm not getting ready to do all of that. I ain't getting ready to play church over here. We're not going to play church over here. We're not going to do none of that. When I be putting out scriptures and I be saying something, I be saying something because those scriptures, the scripture I'm showing you, that's something that can be proven right out in the world as we see it today. So yeah, it's just like you quoting from a fucking book, quoting from a rap song or anything, quoting from anything, quoting from a movie or whatever. I'm not on, I'm at redemption time and all of that. I'm not on that time right now. What am I doing to hurt anybody? Nothing. I don't want nothing. I don't know shit. I'm not trying to do shit to nobody or nothing. My only goal is that I want to see my daughter graduate from college. However, I wake up the next day, that's how I wake up. If I decide I want to get on a plane and fly here, or I want to get in a car and drive here and, and see somebody that I've been promising I wanted to see, I know one thing. I ain't had no conspiracy with nobody. What I do by myself. I don't tell my kids, I don't explain to my kids that's not their business what I do. They just need to know that whatever their father is doing is so that they can have a chance at life. Whatever I tell them to do is what I believe to be right as far as I know. And I'll always only allow that they be accountable for what I told them. So if Christ would sacrifice himself for all these black, white, Puerto Rican, whatever race you is, if he was ready to sacrifice himself for, you know, or sacrifice himself for you. Yeah, yeah. I got 2 kids, and I got a whole bunch of other people under them, not their kids, but family members. The kids are the future. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm 50 something years old. I'll make any money that I need to make, however I gotta make it. Except for you won't see me down on nobody's strip selling no ass, sucking no dick, and selling no kids and none of that. I ain't doing none of that. None of that. I ain't doing none of that. But when it comes down to taking care of the family, I had to take care of the family. So you see, I went on every channel that I have available to me. And I broadcast it. What I'm saying right now, we've been on for 2 hours. It's 8:30, August 13th. I was looking at some certain channels and seeing what they was going to be talking about. And I looked at a couple posts. But I got away from it and saying, let's ask you this. I know we all like drama. We all like drama. I like drama. I like to see some drama. I like to be involved in it. I like to watch it. It takes nothing for me to see somebody get busted in their fucking cranium. It doesn't move me one way or the other. I love to see that shit. Blood doesn't make me sick. Doesn't make me throw up. Doesn't make me do anything. It's blood. It's spilt. So where I find that there's blood spilt and it had something to do with me, then of course, I mean, I still believe in that. That I don't have to be following God's word every day or anything, but His promises, and I believe in, and what He says is going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. If you live by the sword, you're going to die by it. One thing that got me about Mo 3 is he was willing to accept that. Whatever fate was coming to him, he was willing to accept it. I wish it didn't go down for the young brother like that. And I don't know all that his actions may or may not have caused, but I know he has a mother and he has a kid. 3 of them that we know of. Because they have the same color skin that I have, and if they didn't have the same color skin that I have, nobody wants to see a kid suffer. I had to re-go through my Facebook and look at the last messages that I received from some people that they say they're always going to be out in the bushes. And I had to just look at those last things that they said to me. And my angel, Renee, I was so into what I was doing. I don't know if I gave the proper responses when she was saying certain things about what her and her husband was going through. I looked at other people that were saying things, and it came down to about three people that posted one place. And I always look at those, and I always look at those, and that determines my day. I don't know who the Empress is. Like I said, I welcome everybody to the chat and people who are out there. It's not that many people out there that at least that we can see, but they're all on We Are the Receipts trademark. The thing that I want to do most is I want to drag somebody ass on this internet, drag them all the way across this internet. Because I think that people don't know that I know. And I'm talking about the bloggers that I know what's going on. But I'm just chilling to a certain date. So you can hear me talking right now and believe that, hey, he calmed down or whatever. Hey, I am. And I really am. But that memory, I did one live and I said, elephants have a long memory, and so do I. And I do. That's one thing my mom said about me is I don't forget. I don't know the next time I'm gonna be live. I don't. I don't know when the next time I'll be live. I might get off of here, get a drink, go smoke, do anything. Come right back on here and go live again with some new shit. But let me say this. If my PO asks me why I don't trust her and why it took me a minute to trust the people, my doctors who were talking to me, what the fuck makes y'all think y'all on here and I trust you? And it's not trying to be disrespectful. Most of you over here that I can see, and those that I can't see that's looking are going to look on it later. Yeah, you know what it is. Clock ticking down for you, or it's clock ticking down for me. But if it's clicking down for me, guess what? I don't give a fuck. I don't care if it's clicking down for me. I had to watch my sister's funeral in the military on VHS. If I don't get to see my daughter's graduation, it's not going to kill me. It won't. It won't kill me if I die before her graduation. If I died, if I died tonight, hey, it's how I wanted to go out. I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid of what happened to the generations, or what happened to people in the wake of my death. That's what I care more about, is making sure that they're taken care of if I die. And I'm gonna leave it at that for right now. And I'm ready to go smoke. I'll have me a drink. I can go do whatever you're going to do. Maybe I'll come back on tonight, maybe I don't. But I'll tell you this. Niggas, stop thinking you can run to Mr. Charlie to save you. Because Mr. Charlie don't care about you the way you think that they care about you. And when I say Mr. Charlie, I ain't just talking about Mr. Charlie, how you think him. See, Mr. Charlie is establishment. It ain't the color. Mr. Charlie is the man, the women, no matter what color they are, what race they from. That's Mr. Charlie. It ain't just no white man. Because I don't even know anybody that's white. I'm serious. I don't know somebody that's black. Now you start saying tan, brown, or anything like that. Yeah, I understand all of that. But all of that black and white shit, all people calling people nigger and all of that shit, I don't care two fucks about that. I never did. Never did. That never excited me. Somebody saying, yo, you nigger or whatever, that's never gonna make me hype. That's that fake hype shit. I could bring my daughter up and show that the way she was brought up, either one of them, the way they were brought up, they speak a certain way, they have a certain respect. But that doesn't make them better than anyone else on the whole planet. Whether you believe it's a circle or whether it's flat. My daughter's only important or most important to me and their mother. I guess to themselves and whoever else they built around them. That's it. And that's the same anywhere else. But I mean, all day, every day. You know what I'll be looking at? I'll be looking at acts of kindness. That's what gets me through the day. Acts of kindness. See other people doing acts of kindness. If anything happened to my daughter or my kids or whatever, I would want to be the one that spoke for them. I'm not letting no fucking body. It ain't gonna be no fucking cop. It ain't gonna be no fucking township representative. It ain't gonna be nobody that's gonna speak on behalf of my children and say what happened to them or whatever or what type of person they was. And this is not me wanting to force Mo3's family to come out and speak. This is not that. I believe that when it's time for them to speak, they will, and that they are speaking through the courts. If you don't know me, stop thinking you know me. The next live video, I'm gonna show you an email where I catch a company that has somebody that's actively practicing devil worshiping, and they're trying to talk to me through a fucking email, through a company. Stop playing with the KID because I'm on top of that shit. When I say I'm on it, I'm on it.